Hi, and welcome back. This is Miss Wicks, and I'm here to teach you a little bit about writing equations from a table. So here I have the example, write an equation from the table below. Okay, when I'm talking about equations, I'm talking about the line is equal to y equals mx plus b. I want you to write an equation for this line represented in my table. I have put some steps here because you do need the slope and the y-intercept in order to write this line. If you remember, m, that stands for our slope, and b, this stands for our y-intercept. So these are steps 1 and 2 to be able to write our equation. Okay, once we do step 1 and 2, we'll be able to plug those in and just write our line. We're going to start at the top though, and I'm going to teach you guys how to find slope from a table. So I'm sure that you remember that slope, there's all sorts of ways to find slope. So when you're working with a graph, you might use rise over run. When you're working with 2 points, you might use y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. And you can also use that for a table. But I think the easiest way to do it with a table is change in y all over change in x. Okay? And just so you know, this triangle annotation, this means the words change in. Okay, so this really means change in y over change in x. Okay, like I just said, I just don't want you to forget. Okay, so what we're going to do here is find the change in y over the change in x. What's happening in each row? So from -6 to -2, what is happening there? Well, it looks like they are adding 4. Okay, right? First we had -$6 and now we have -2. What happened? We must have made $4. Okay, from -2 to 2, we've got the same thing going on there. That's +4. And from -2 to 6, same thing, and everywhere. 10 to 14 is also +4. Okay? So right now we know that the change in x in every piece, or the change in y in all of these is 4. Okay? What about our change in x though? Let's figure it out. What's going on from 0 to 1? Well, we're adding 1. What's going on from 1 to 2? Same thing. And from 3 to 4? Same thing. And 4 to 5. Okay? +1 everywhere. So we can actually just put 1. Okay, so we all know 4 divided by 1 is actually just 4. So right now we have our slope, but we still need to find our y-intercept before we move on. So y-intercept is a lot easier actually, because y-intercept actually means when x is 0, what is y equal to? So whenever our x is 0, we'll know what our y is. So all you have to do is look for the 0 in the x column and find the y that matches it. So our intercept here is -6. And once we have our m and our b, we can actually just plug them right into our line. So our line here is y is equal to m. So instead of m, we're going to plug in 4, x, and then I have plus b, so plus a -6. We don't like to have two signs like that, so remember you should always rewrite, and you would have y is equal to 4x minus 6. And that is our line here. Let's try another example. So here again I have a table, and we are looking to write the line of this table. Don't forget that first we need to find our m and our b. So first we're going to find our slope and our y-intercept, and then we're going to plug it into our line. So don't forget that slope is change in y over change in x. Okay, so we are going to find our change in y over our change in x. Let's start with change of y. So I can pick any spot here and I can find my change in y. So what is actually happening from 12 to 10? It looks like we're subtracting 2. That can be my change in y. Okay, and what is happening from -6 to 0? It looks like we are adding 6. So that can be my change in x, and this is going to reduce to -1/3. Okay, and now you can find those points from anywhere here. Okay, if we had done from 10 to 9, we're going to find a different answer here. We're going to say from 10 to 9 we have -1. And from 0 to 3, we actually have plus 3. Oh, well, that just gave me my answer right away without having to simplify. If I put negative 1 over 3, that's the same answer that I already have right here. Okay, so it doesn't make a difference. Okay, just pick the lines that match, and you can go ahead and find the difference in y and the difference in x. Okay, now we can go ahead and do our intercept, and don't forget that our intercept is, our y-intercept can be found when x is equal to 0. Okay, what is y when x is equal to 0? Well, here we have our x is 0, and we have y is equal to 10. So our intercept here is 10. Okay, and now we can go ahead and fill in our line. So our line is actually going to be y is equal to, our m is negative 1/3. And I highly suggest not converting this to a decimal, because when we go to graph later on, you're going to want fractions. So whenever you're writing equations, try to keep yourself in a fraction. So we have 1/3 x. Don't forget to put this x here. A lot of kids forget that, but it's super important that that x variable is there. So we've got negative 1/3 x plus our b, which is 10. And now you know how to write equations from a table.